YouTube, what's up? Back again for another daily fishing video here on Andrew Upshaw Fishing. Guys, I am so sorry I did not post a video yesterday. I was using all of my internet speed to upload the next Let's Fish TV show that airs this coming week. You know, I was actually behind the camera for this particular show, shooting Todd Castledine, and here's a sneak peek of what you're going to see next weekend on Let's Fish TV.
I mean, ate it. Oh my gosh, that's what we came out here for. Good old curse fish. I mean, just ate that crankbait. Look at her, dude. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I'll be honest, guys, Todd absolutely killed it in the show. I thought he did a great job, and he caught some really, really nice bass. I hope y'all get a chance to check it out. It'll be on Valley Sports Southwest and Southeast. But today, guys, I have a really cool show for you. I get a lot of questions all over social media and things, and one of the questions I got recently was about transition banks and understanding what a transition bank was. And it's kind of like this terminology that is so broad and can encapsulate so many different things. It can be very, very confusing. So today we're going to break down transition banks, what you need to look for, and what that really means. I'm going to have some aerial footage from my drone to show you exactly what you're going to see and kind of what you need to look for even when you're using things like Google Earth. But hey, real fast, so if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you do that. Bottom right hand corner really helps me out to know who's following along and who likes my videos, so make sure y'all like that video as well. But let's dive right on into this. So recently I did a TV show on Douglas Lake, and Douglas is one of those places that has a ton of different transitions, and bass kind of hold on transitions differently every place you go, and literally everywhere you go the transitions may be a little bit different. But I'm going to kind of walk you through a few examples of what you need to look for and why these bass hold on these particular places. So when I was at that particular TV shoot, I was actually fishing transitions where it went from like pebble rock, so really, really small rock, to big veins of rock. And the fish weren't necessarily on the veins of rock. They were literally right where the big rock hit the tiny rock. And you're going to see that a lot of times when you're bass fishing. And you can kind of use that as an example of all types of transitions. So when guys say, man, I was fishing this transition bank, and that's a very common term in bass fishing, I was fishing this transition bank and I caught 5. Well, as an angler, I understand what they're talking about. I'm like, oh, okay, they're fishing, where it transitions from maybe flat to steep or from big rock to small rock, whatever it may be. But that can be really confusing. And on a lake like Douglas, for instance, there's a lot of different types of transitions. So my next question most of the time is, what type of transition were you fishing? And a lot of times anglers won't really spill the beans on that, but you have to determine what type of transition the fish are on that particular day, because every day might be a little bit different. You know, when it's the winter time and they're transitioning, they might be on river channel swings where the river channel actually touches a bank and it goes to like a flat point and they're right there on that transition. One of my favorite types of transitions where it goes from clay to maybe like a sandbank or something like that. And you have that sand and clay mix. That's a really, really cool transition. But now, on lakes like Toledo Bend, Grass Lakes, and places like that, your transition might be a steep to flat bank where there might be some hydrilla or some stumps. You know, it doesn't take a whole lot to have a transition bank. The cool thing about transition banks, though, is there's a lot of different things you can do on them. And the cool thing is you can actually run them as a pattern when you're tournament fishing. And that is probably one of my biggest secrets that I've never really talked about is, you know, you talk about guys saying, oh, well, I'm going to go fish here or there. I have this spot. It's my money spot. I'm going to go catch a bunch of bass there. One thing that I like to do is once I figure out what type of transition bank these bass are on, I'll actually go and run around the whole lake and I'll just mark different transition banks that look really similar to what I've already caught bass off of. Like, for instance, at Douglas, that transition where it went from that flat bank, like it's like a stone bank, little bitty rocks, to those really big chunk rocks, I'm just going to go mark a bunch of different ones of those And once I figure out, okay, they're on those particular banks, I'll just go run all of them in the tournament. That way I have no preconceived notions as to where I'm going to get my next bite or what I'm going to get my next bite on. In this particular show, I was actually catching them all on a Ned rig, and they were transitioning to go into spawn. So that's what we're dealing with right now, is spawn to post-spawn. They use a lot of the same exact banks. Now, when those fish start pulling out deeper, they can still be on transitions. They're just not necessarily on transition banks. They're on transitions to where maybe a river channel swing hits a ledge, and that ledge goes from really steep to really flat. They could be on that type of transition as well. Bass use transitions to ambush prey all the time. So no matter where you're at and no matter the depth of water that you're in, a fish is always going to use that type of transition to their advantage. And in this situation, that's exactly what they're going to do. So just imagine this. If there's a section of rock, and even in the show that Todd and I shot here recently, one thing we noticed, both of us noticed, was the fish were sitting on the edge of reeds. So you get in these open sections. You'd be going down a reed line, and you could go down a reed line for miles and miles and never get a bite. And you get to the edge of the reeds where it opened up to a section of open water, once again, a transition, and that's where you would get your bite, because what it was doing is those fish were sitting right in the edge of the reeds. So whenever the bait fish or the bluegill would swim up in those open sections, and they would swim to that edge of the reeds, that is where they would ambush the bait. And that is a big deal when you're looking at, no matter what lake you're on, is finding the perfect transition and running a bunch of different ones of those. And you're going to figure out you can get bit all over the lake running a lot of identical water. And sometimes when you're on a lake that has a bunch of different transitions, you can actually just run a bunch of different ones in a row. So like you can run like a steep bank with a channel swing to maybe a rock transition, maybe a grass transition, and you can run a lot of different ones and still get bit off every single one. And therefore you're not fishing a bunch of water. You know, you're not saying, okay, I've got to fish 4 miles of this bank. I literally have to fish a 50-yard section, run to the next 50-yard section and fish that one. And you'll be surprised of how many bonus fish you catch. Now baits, I could talk all day about baits that I've used all over the years to catch fish off transitions, but literally it kind of depends on what you're dealing with. On the case of the show that Todd and I shot, one of the big baits was a popping perch, going on those outside edges of those reeds where it hit those sand banks, and you catch them on a popping perch there. But it was because those fish were pushing bluegill in. On a rock place, you could be cranking those transitions, flipping a jig, like a bitsy flip. You know, and that was one of the things that I did at Lake Cumberland when I won, is I was actually flipping transitions to where it actually flattened up on those bluffs, and that's where those fish were located. Paying attention to those little bitty details the fish give you throughout the day will definitely help you catch more bass. But guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this show. Hope you learned to catch them on transition banks and kind of give you an idea of what to look for the next time you're out there on the water. Like I said before, if you get a chance, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. It really helps me out. And comment below, what is your favorite transition? Guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.